All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for a deep dive today?
Always.
We are tackling a really fascinating topic. It's about the connection between love, wisdom, and knowing God.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. We are basing this whole exploration on just one rule, one little nugget of wisdom from the book 40 Rules of Love.
One rule to what, unpack all that?
Well, yeah, basically. And honestly, when I read this rule, it really made me stop and think, have I been approaching this whole love thing the wrong way?
Ooh. Okay. All right, lay it on me. What's the rule?
Okay, so it's all about this idea of loving imperfect beings, like not some perfect idea of a person, but actual flawed humans.
Right, the messy ones we deal with every day.
Exactly. And how that ties into, get this, knowing God.
Right, I'm hooked.
I know, right? So I'm just going to read this rule straight from the book because it's pretty powerful. It says, it's easy to love a perfect God, period. What is far more difficult is to love fellow human beings with all their imperfections and defects.
Yeah, it's true.
And it keeps going, one can only know what one is capable of loving.
Whoa.
Yeah. So much to unpack there. Where do we even start? What like hits you first when you hear that?
I think it's that immediate contrast, that juxtaposition.
Okay.
Loving perfection.
Okay.
It's easy
Right.
because it's perfect.
Mm.
It's like looking at a beautiful sunset. It's like listening to a perfect piece of music.
Yeah.
There's nothing to forgive. There's nothing to work on. It just is. But loving flawed humans, ourselves included,
Yeah.
that requires something else from us, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It takes effort.
Vulnerability.
Right. Vulnerability. Like we all have that friend, we were talking about this earlier, that friend who's, always late.
Maybe a little flaky.
Yeah, a little flaky, but they also make you laugh until you cry. And, loving them means seeing past those little quirks, meeting them where they are.
Which takes patience.
Oh, so much patience.
Effort, willingness to see the good. And that's where I think the wisdom comes in.
Oh,
Don't you think?
yeah.
Because it's in those like real messy human moments when we choose to love in spite of those flaws that we actually learn something. Not just about that other person, but about ourselves, about what we're capable of.
I totally agree. And, I was thinking about a time, this really exemplifies this, when I messed up really badly with a close friend.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it was bad, royally screwed up. And I felt so terrible, so ashamed, and I almost like backed away from the friendship completely because in that moment I felt so flawed, so unworthy.
Yeah.
But and this is like, she's amazing in her infinite wisdom. I mean, she had every right to walk away.
Yeah.
She didn't. She actually drew closer. And she didn't let me off the hook, don't get me wrong, but she didn't abandon me in my mess. And we worked through it. And going through that with her, I learned so much about forgiveness, about real love, not the Hallmark movie version.
Right, right. And see, that's what I find so fascinating about this rule, because it links those experiences, those very human, very personal experiences, to this idea of the divine.
Okay, so you're saying that those moments, like loving the friend who drives us crazy, the coworker who, knows exactly how to push our buttons.
Your mother-in-law.
Oh, especially mother-in-law. Those are all like opportunities to know God.
In a way, yes.
That's kind of a radical idea.
It is radical, but think about it. If we agree that love, at its core, is about acceptance, it's about forgiveness, understanding, then maybe, just maybe, by working on those things in our daily lives, we are reflecting something bigger than ourselves.
Wow. Okay. So how do we take all this big idea and make it make sense for, for our listeners, for people who are like out there dealing with real relationships, trying to figure this whole love thing out?
I think the takeaway is this. Embrace the mess.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from it. Because it is in those imperfections, in the struggle to understand and be understood, that we often discover the most profound truths about, well, everything. About ourselves, about love, and yeah, maybe even about God.
And maybe, just maybe, by loving those imperfect souls around us, we open ourselves up to experiencing a love that's even bigger, even deeper than we could have imagined.
So if loving imperfect beings is a pathway to knowing God, what does that say about the nature of God's love for us? Something to ponder.
That's going to keep me thinking all week.